The novels of Charles Dickens are full of vivid images, some drawn from the darkest passages of his own life, others from acute observation of the world around him. Though the great institutions he lampooned and campaigned against, such as the workhouses and the chancery courts, are thankfully long gone, many of the places Dickens wrote about are still extant and can be visited today. One such is Calling Churchyard, near Rochester in Kent, close to Dickens's home of Gad's Hill Place. In Calling Churchyard are these graves of 13 children of the same family, dating from the 18th century. They are said to be Dickens' inspiration for the opening of Great Expectations. Let's listen now to the novel's hero Pip as he goes to visit the graves of his family in a Kentish churchyard, and see if you think so. As I never saw my father or my mother, and never saw any likeness of either of them, for their days were long before the days of photographs, my first fancies regarding what they were like were unreasonably derived from their tombstones. The shape of the letters on my father's gave me an odd idea that he was a square, stout, dark man with curly black hair. From the character and tone of the inscription, "Also Georgina, wife of the above," I drew a childish conclusion that my mother was freckled and sickly. To 5 little stone lozenges, each about 1.5 feet long, which arranged in a neat row beside their grave and were sacred to the memory of 5 little brothers of mine, who gave up trying to get a living exceedingly early in that universal struggle, I am indebted for a belief I religiously entertained that they'd all been born on their backs, with their hands in their trouser pockets, and had never taken them out in this state of existence. And whilst in the churchyard, Pip encounters a terrifying figure, a fearful man, all in coarse grey with a great iron on his leg, a man with no hat, with broken shoes and with an old rag tied round his head, is how Dickens describes him. He's a convict from one of the prison ships nearby, and he's going to terrify Pip into helping him with his planned escape. From the early 18th century, prisoners were transported to the colonies of Virginia and Maryland. After the American Declaration of Independence in 1776, this was no longer possible. So old, no longer seaworthy vessels were pressed into service as prisons. The hulks, as these prison ships were known, were disease-ridden. 1 in 3 inmates died on board. There are records of children as young as 8 being incarcerated on the hulks. If you wonder what one would have looked like, at least through the eyes of a small boy, listen to Pip again after he has witnessed the convict from the churchyard being captured and taken back on board. By the light of the torches, we saw the black hulk lying out a little way from the mud of the shore, like a wicked Noah's Ark. Cribbed and barred and moored by massive rusty chains, the prison ship seemed in my young eyes to be ironed like the prisoners. We saw the boat go alongside. We saw him taken up the side and disappear. Then the ends of the torches were flung hissing into the water and went out as if it were all over with him. This has just been a brief look at some of the background to just one of Dickens's novels. If you'd like to know more about the man himself, do visit our Dickens website at this address.